Welcome in. This is Chiefs Chase. My name is Mike Bassano, and thank you so much for joining me as the Kansas City Chiefs are 14-1.
5 games. Second down and 8. Mahomes with time. Nearly tripped. Mahomes, first down. Mahomes, touchdown. What bum ankle? 15 yards for number 15.
The Kansas City Chiefs are 14-1 after beating the Houston Texans 27-19. A pretty decisive victory the whole way through, where the Kansas City Chiefs played well on both sides of the ball. And I think what makes everybody the most happy about this is ruining the Christmases of all the Chiefs haters. Every hater, you get a lump of coal for Christmas. A lump of coal and maybe a dose of reality that you just can't top what Kansas City has going on. It doesn't matter what the record is of the other team. It doesn't matter how well they play. It doesn't matter how good their quarterback is. You can't stop the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. And how terrifying must it be for every other team in the NFL and for every other fan base in the NFL to have to cope with the fact that the Chiefs are the number 1 seed in the AFC. So a team that hasn't lost at home the entire season is going to have home field advantage throughout the entire playoffs. That must stick in the craw of so many other fan bases. It must feel like getting coal on Christmas Day. And frankly, that's what you all deserve for doubting the Kansas City Chiefs. 14-1, even during this stretch of 3 games in 10 days, the Chiefs have already won it, in my opinion. Even if they lose on Christmas Day, it doesn't matter. Getting 2 out of 3 out of this stretch of 3 games in 10 days is everything for this team. It's so incredibly impressive and incredibly needed, because what we care about more than anything in Kansas City is playoff seeding. You know, all these little regular season accolades that people up north in Buffalo want to go get, let them have it. Who cares? The playoffs are what matter, and the Chiefs have positioned themselves beautifully for the playoffs, now sitting at 14-1 with only 2 games left and a 2-game lead as the number 1 seed. You could not ask for a better situation for the Kansas City Chiefs. You could not dream up a more beautiful season for this squad unless you're somebody who's so obsessed with statistics. And have you scored enough points this season? I don't know. They haven't scored over 30 points yet. What does that mean? It doesn't matter. That's something losers do. It's like those losers who tell me the Chiefs have a good offensive line because they read it on Pro Football Focus. Hey guys, the stats are fake. They're made up. It's a Twitter creation from about 10 to 15 years ago. Sam Monson's a very smart man, and he's a very good grifter, because a lot of you guys fall for those Pro Football Focus scores. They don't mean anything. They're worthless. They're completely shifted and weighted by things that happen during the game that aren't at all calculated into those scores. So PFF scores, keep them to yourselves. What I see is Patrick Mahomes getting sacked more than he has in his entire career. That's a problem. And Patrick Mahomes being hit more than any quarterback in the NFL. Another problem. So really, today, despite all the positives, the one negative is still offensive line. Patrick Mahomes was still running for his life. They had a 4th and 1, tried to give it to Isaiah Pacheco. Offensive line couldn't get a push. So that's still an issue. However, it's kind of the only one left. Charles Omenihu coming back has solidified that pass rush for Kansas City, and now we have Mike Pennell getting in the backfield and burying quarterbacks. This pass rush has gone from a giant weakness in the first half of the season to a massive strength in the second half of the season. And how about Joshua Williams coming off the edge to seal the game? That's what I'm talking about, baby. This Chiefs defense has really solidified itself. The secondary still has issues, but they're not huge, especially with the man, Trent McDuffie, coming up with another interception today and being all over the field. What a phenomenal cornerback Trent McDuffie's turned out to be. He's an all-pro for a reason, and he's only getting better. The Kansas City Chiefs can rely on this defense. They can make enough happen on offense, and with Hollywood Brown back, holy crap, man, this is a totally different team and looks to be a juggernaut heading into January. So look out the rest of the AFC, because you have to go to a place where the Chiefs haven't lost all year, Arrowhead, to try to get to the Super Bowl against a team that's built to be a playoff juggernaut once again in the NFL. Everything's setting up so nicely through a three-peat. I can only assume people in Baltimore, people in Buffalo, and people across the NFL are just puking on the floor, sad, upset, and sick about the fact that their team doesn't have a chance in the postseason against what the Kansas City Chiefs are currently building. They're getting in the right groove at the right time, and there isn't anything you can do about it. You have to just accept that fact, try to get better, but we all know you probably won't, because now the Chiefs are taking out multiple division leaders, and they have another one coming up on Christmas. We got a lot to get to here on Chiefs Chase. It's going to be a quick show. Maybe I have to travel right after, going home for Christmas, but we're going to be there. And it's going to be fun. And we're going to do a show on Christmas from my parents' house, no problem, after the Chiefs game, because I will give you a post-game show after every single Chiefs game. That has been my promise to you, and I don't break promises. I'm a man of my word. All right, now, let's get to everything. My goodness, we have so much. We touched on all of it, but let's start with what I would like to say the man of the hour. On the midweek blitz, I sat here and I said that I would not want Patrick Mahomes to play this football game. I saw what happened to his ankle. He got bent sideways like a broken lawn chair by the Cleveland Browns. 3 different players hit him on that play, and then he couldn't walk or finish the game. So I didn't want to see Patrick Mahomes play against the Texans. I was worried about him getting injured further. And what happened? Truck stick Mahomes? He comes out early in the game and runs over somebody to get into the end zone. That man is a true warrior. What Patrick Mahomes does fires up the rest of the Kansas City Chiefs, because if you're anybody in that locker room and you're feeling kind of bad, or maybe you're feeling kind of tired, well, Patrick can't walk and he's out there with heavily taped ankles trying to run. He can't even cut. He couldn't even cut. He can only run straight, and he's still taking off, getting positive yardage, and then truck sticking into the end zone. If that doesn't get you fired up, then I frankly don't think you even have a pulse. And that's what this Chiefs team feeds off of. They feed off of the mentality of Patrick Mahomes. DeAndre Hopkins said it during the week. They feed off of Mahomes' warrior mentality and the fact that he wants to be out there no matter what. And he proved today that he is, without a doubt, the best quarterback in the NFL and the toughest SOB since Stone Cold Steve Austin. Truck stick Mahomes. Build a statue. You gotta love to see it, man. Mahomes' numbers end up with 28 of 41, 260 yards, and 1 touchdown through the air. Also 5 carries for 33 yards and a touchdown on the ground. An absolutely phenomenal performance by Patrick Mahomes in a game where he very rarely had a clean pocket. And that's something we do need to talk about real quick. I want to have a lot of positivity, but there was no clean pocket today. It doesn't even look like an actual pocket ever really forms for Mahomes. Like, it starts to, and then somebody just breaks through. Like, the ability to hold a pocket for the Chiefs doesn't exist. And Mahomes has to kind of work against that, which is frustrating, and he takes a lot of hits. So his ability to be as good as he's been this year, and also he's eliminated the turnover issues. Where was the Mahomes turnover today? Oh, it didn't happen. So he's eliminated the turnover issues, and they found a way to work around a makeshift offensive line. Joe Thuney just played his second game ever at left tackle. So I'm just saying, Joe Thuney just played his second game at left tackle. This is a makeshift offensive line. Yet Patrick Mahomes is continuing to not only make big plays and make great throws, but to avoid turnovers. And that's been a huge improvement for Mahomes throughout the season, because early on when he was getting hammered and making bad throws because he didn't have any time, he adjusted to that. He adjusted to the fact that his makeshift offensive line can't form a great pocket. And what we saw today was exactly that. He adjusted to it. And he might not put up huge numbers because, frankly, if you're a quarterback and you don't have a good pocket, you can't put up huge numbers, but you can win, especially with the weapons Mahomes has around him and Steve Spagnuolo's defense. That is the combination of a methodical football team that has everything they need to elevate to the top. That's why you got to love to see what this team has done from an overall standpoint. And frankly, as frustrated as I get with the offensive line, they're okay sometimes. They're not the worst offensive line I've ever seen. They're not average, but they're not the worst ever either. So there is that. Let's see, what else is there? Okay, there we go. That's that. You know what? That's all I'm going to talk about the offensive line for now, because we already know what it is. Hopefully DJ Humphries comes back and DJ Humphries is healthy. That will change the one really major negative from this game, which is Mahomes didn't have much time. And running the ball, Pacheco couldn't get going at all, and Kareem Hunt had to be a battering ram because the holes just weren't that large. So the offensive line is still obviously the biggest problem in Kansas City. Hopefully with the return of DJ Humphries, we'll see something change with that. But that's the saga of the season. We'll continue to cover it. Now, the one time there was almost a Patrick Mahomes turnover was the fumble, right? They had the fumble, and Patrick Mahomes winds up to throw this thing. It's clearly a forward pass, but kudos to the referees because I'm one of those people where I say, if it's in question, let it play. And then have New York review it. So I have no problem with the referees letting that play go. What I do have a problem with is the clowns everywhere on the internet seeing a blatant roughing the passer penalty where Patrick Mahomes gets tomahawked in the face, clubbed at the side of his face, a blatant roughing the passer penalty. And I have to see all you casuals on the internet going, well, the referees are bailing out the Chiefs again. Maybe you should talk to the players who are so incredibly undisciplined that on an obvious play where you shouldn't be swinging your club at the freaking head of the quarterback, they're still doing it. That's the problem. It's undisciplined play that results in penalties that help the Chiefs. The Chiefs are a disciplined football team. That's why they don't get these huge penalties like a roughing the passer that the Texans didn't need where Barnett just clubbed Mahomes in the head. Like, what? People are so upset about the Chiefs getting calls. You should be more upset about the blatant lack of discipline that your team has. Because who just clubs a quarterback in the head then looks at the official like, what did I do? Well, you clubbed the quarterback in the face, which is so against the rules, it's hilarious, and it's been against the rules for over 10 years. So I'm not entirely sure why you're looking at the referee like nothing happened because you just clubbed Patrick Mahomes in the face. You can't tomahawk quarterbacks in the face and then tell me the referees are against you. Like, that's like day one stuff. That's like when you're in Pee Wee football and your coach says, hey, when the quarterback throws the ball, you can't hit him. And you certainly can't hit him in the face. You get taught that when you're in third grade, yet we have these undisciplined players throughout the NFL, which I think is part of the injury issue the NFL has, that are consistently getting these penalties. And I'm telling you this right now, it makes the game harder to watch. You saw how many penalties we saw during this game. Every other play, it was an injury, it was a penalty, it was an injury, it was a penalty. It's the lack of discipline NFL players have now. Tom Brady's talked about it. The game has become much less disciplined. Players have become much less crisp. And as a result, we're seeing more injuries and more penalties. I mean, that's just the way it is. How do you fix it? I don't know. Don't let players hit the transfer portal because they don't grow in a system and they don't learn the way that they used to. They don't understand how to be crisp because they're not growing through a program. That's one thing from college. Two, tougher training camp, tougher preseason. All of these things that would fix this problem, they ain't happening. There's no other way to fix it, man. It's not happening because the players union won't allow a tougher training camp and a tougher preseason, right? And college football is not going to take away the transfer portal. Hopefully they can adjust it to make it less ridiculous because right now it's basically the NIL Wild West and it's trickling into the NFL and creating problems, creating injuries, creating penalties. But I don't see it changing anytime soon. It has to be adjusted, but it's not going away. So that's the situation there. Now, what do we want to get to? I have a ton to get to here, and the show is obviously right after the game. So I don't have anything structured. I just have notes. What do we want to get to? You know what? Let's welcome him back. Let's do it. Hollywood Brown. Lights, camera, action. Hollywood Brown is on the scene, and he makes this entire team better. He changes the entire dynamic of the Chiefs' offense because he adds deadly speed. And while Xavier Worthy is incredibly fast, a duo of incredibly fast wide receivers is so important. Ask the Miami Dolphins with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. When you have two guys who can burn you with absolute speed, two of the fastest guys in the NFL in Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, other defenses are terrified by that, and they should be. You should be terrified. I'd be mortified if I saw Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy over there. How am I going to run with those guys? So obviously, the addition of Hollywood Brown changed this offense today and gave the Chiefs an ability to run another guy underneath that could take a short gain and make it into a first down. And that's exactly what Hollywood Brown did today. And the best thing about Hollywood, his injury was a shoulder. So his legs are fine. He's just as fast as he ever was. So that shoulder injury, coming back from that, the more comfortable he feels on the field, the more he gets his legs underneath him, and the more he feels that awareness on the field as a Chief within the offense, it's going to be even stronger. So can you imagine for me, when Hollywood Brown gets all those things together, and we get into the playoffs with Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, DeAndre Hopkins, Travis Kelce, sprinkle in a little Juju Smith-Schuster. Oh, look, add a little Noah Gray. This offense is going to be absolutely stacked. And if the offensive line can get DJ Humphries back to protect Mahomes and create a clean pocket, they're going to be putting up massive amounts of points every game, especially when you consider that in January, in the playoffs, Andy Reid is going to break that playbook wide open, and we're going to see plays we didn't even think of during the regular season. So the optimism for the Kansas City Chiefs right now should be absolutely through the roof. Why wouldn't it be? 14-1, the 1 seed, Hollywood Brown's back, the team's getting healthy. We're seeing the healing happen in Kansas City, and by God, it feels good. That's what I love to see. This type of game where the Chiefs go out and play a solid football game against a very good Houston Texans team that's number 1 in the AFC South, and they continue to maintain that number 1 seed and put distance between them and the Buffalo Bills. That's what we have been looking for. This type of game really got me. As frustrated as I was after the Cleveland Browns game, because it felt like the Browns played a bad game and the Chiefs just kind of, no, they did what they had to against a bad team. This felt like the Chiefs going out against a good football team who played a good football game and taking a victory. That gets me fired up. That's what I want to see. Take that victory, man. And the Chiefs are doing it. They take that victory. And when you see that kind of game, it gives you that optimistic flow, that energy, especially when you think about how it's going to look when the Chiefs go into the offseason, when they go into the playoffs and they get into that postseason. You have to feel how much better this team's going to look. A healthier DJ Humphries that you can at least use at left tackle, if not start. And a better offensive line, a unit maybe. Let's say they decide to keep left guard and Tooney at left tackle. I don't know. But the better that offensive line gets, the more weapons the Chiefs get back, you have to be feeling that optimism. So watching Hollywood Brown run all over the field today, that was awesome. That's the kind of play and the kind of player that changes the dynamic of your offense entirely. Because Hollywood Brown, keep in mind, has never had a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. Hollywood Brown has had decent quarterbacks. He's had terrible quarterbacks. But now he has an elite Hall of Fame quarterback, and it's changing everything in his game. You can see how easily the ball comes to him, and his speed, considering he only had the shoulder injury, no leg injuries, his speed is 100% there, and it's only going to get better as his conditioning improves and as his field awareness improves within the Chiefs' offense. So Hollywood Brown, lights, camera, action. He is here to stay. Let's go, baby. Now, when Mahomes has time, he's amazing. He's a generational talent. He's better than he's ever been when he has a clean pocket. He never does, though. So today wasn't good, but it was an improvement. Like I will say, today's offensive line was better than the offensive line against Cleveland. So there was an improvement with this unit. So as much as I want to see DJ Humphries back, maybe give this line a little time. Give Tooney some time. He's doing all right at left tackle. Now, the running game on the inside doesn't look as good without Tooney at left guard, but you have to protect the face of the league. You're $500 million quarterback. You have to protect him. So that might just be a situation where the Chiefs stay with this unit of 5 and let them grow going into the playoffs. It makes sense to me because DJ Humphries, when he was playing for the Chiefs, he didn't look great. So high hopes, but maybe this unit's the unit they go with. Also on the Dalton Schultz touchdown, I think it was the first touchdown for the Houston Texans. What a blatant missed call. Like just the most egregious push-off imaginable by the Texans. They're handed a touchdown. And 31 fan bases in the NFL applaud horrific officiating just because it happens to go against the Kansas City Chiefs. And you know what that proves? It proves that nobody actually believes the Chiefs are getting better, or nobody actually believes that. We'll go back just a second. Sorry. You know what that proves? It proves that nobody actually believes that the Kansas City Chiefs are getting special treatment from the referees. It just proves that they hate the Chiefs. They're just worthless little haters. They want to watch the Chiefs lose so badly that they don't care that Dalton Schultz has a egregious push off to get his touchdown on a play where George Karlaftis was also held. So multiple penalties missed, but the Texans score a touchdown, so everybody's okay with it. That just proves everyone's haters. They don't want a fair game. They just want a game where the Chiefs lose. And you can keep hoping for that. You can keep praying for it. You can keep crying into your pillow at night and wondering why the Kansas City Chiefs don't lose, because they're going to keep winning. Undefeated at home. So enjoy coming through there for the playoffs. Number 1 seed, 14-1. And frankly, 1 4th and 2 stop in Buffalo away from 15-0. So keep that in mind too, baby. All right. Interception machine, Trent McDuffie. Let's get to him, huh?
Stroud, dangerous, and picked! Trent McDuffie, first career interception last week, and now the floodgates have opened.
Trent McDuffie goes his whole career without an interception. Then he gets one off Jameis Winston last week in the Browns game. And now this week, he gets another one against CJ Stroud. The interception machine, Trent McDuffie. Still the best man-to-man cover corner in the NFL and quickly emerging as the best corner in the NFL. He's already been an All-Pro, and Trent McDuffie's going to be an All-Pro again. You see his ability to tackle in the open field, his ability to cover man-to-man, and now his ability to ball hawk. That guy is growing into one of the best cornerbacks I've ever seen in my entire life, and I don't see any chance that Trent McDuffie stops playing well. I don't see any chance that Trent McDuffie stops growing into the most prolific cornerback that we've ever seen in Kansas City. He keeps getting better. Every single week, we see the beautiful things that Trent McDuffie does for this team, and I only want to see more of it. And I think more of it's going to be coming because Trent McDuffie has such an incredible talent level, and then you put that grit, that fire, that nasty determination that he has in with it, and now we're seeing him blossom. An interception hawk, Trent McDuffie. Ooh, that's my favorite Trent McDuffie right there. Let's go, baby. Trent McDuffie's the cornerstone of this defense, along with Chris Jones. But of the secondary especially, he is the guy. And everybody plays better because of him. You know, all the secondary sees what Trent McDuffie does, and you know, they play better because of Trent McDuffie. As they should. When you see Trent McDuffie out there making the tough tackles in the open field, as the guy, right? And a lot of cornerbacks don't like making those tackles in the open field. And it's not like Trent McDuffie is this huge stature guy, but he goes in and makes those open field tackles with precision every time. He cut down those quick screens from the Texans like it was nothing. And then when he had a chance to get a pick, boom, came up with it. 2 in 2 weeks, Trent McDuffie. Let's go, baby. That's what I like to see. All right, what else do we got here? Let's see here. Kareem Hunt. Let's get to Kareem. Hell yeah, dude. Kareem Hunt ran beautifully today. Let's see Kareem Hunt's stats here. Kareem Hunt had 11 carries for 55 yards and a touchdown, including the game-sealing run at the end. What Kareem Hunt has blossomed into for Kansas City is the most important addition of this entire season. DeAndre Hopkins is an amazing addition, and I love the fact that he's in Kansas City. But looking what Kareem Hunt's done in a situation where Isaiah Pacheco is struggling coming back from injury, it is everything for the Kansas City Chiefs. Not just the short yardage ability, but now he's ripping off some bigger runs. He's getting a little bit in better shape. He's not asked to carry the ball 26 times a game, so when he gets his opportunities, they're getting even bigger chunks. You love to see how Kareem Hunt has embraced his time in Kansas City. He got his next chance, and I think we love that. Right? Getting a second chance back in Kansas City, coming off of his couch, and then being used as a bell cow running back for weeks. And now we're seeing how good Kareem Hunt can be when he only has to carry the ball 11 times in a game. 11 carries for 55 yards and a touchdown, and the game-sealing run, that is a big-time day for Kareem Hunt. And imagining where he was in week 3, sitting on the couch wondering if his NFL career was over, and now seeing him run roughshod over the Houston Texans en route to a massive win for a Kansas City Chiefs team that is the number 1 seed, 14-1, the place where he was drafted, and now he has a chance to return to it and bring them the three-peat that would make NFL history. Write a book about Kareem Hunt, bro. Are you kidding me? That's the most awesome thing I've ever heard. That's an amazing story for a guy who's come in and played phenomenal football for the Kansas City Chiefs. His ability to pick up big first downs today. I mean, he had 11 carries, and it felt like every single one of them was in a massive moment, right? I know it wasn't that, but everything, like with 11 carries, I looked at the stats, and when I saw 11 carries for Kareem Hunt on the game, I was like, he's only 11? It felt like he got a lot more than that because of how impactful so many of his runs were. Important first down runs, the game sealing run, the touchdown. He had big time, impactful plays today. And I think this offense can really rely on Kareem Hunt to be that kind of running back, to run like a battering ram through defenses, especially now that he has Isaiah Pacheco to spell him. It's hard to come off your couch and run the ball 26 times a game in the NFL. Not reinventing the wheel with that take, am I? But it's true. It's hard for Kareem Hunt to come off the couch and run the ball 26 times. Now that he doesn't have to do that over the last few weeks, I think we're seeing a better Kareem Hunt, a Kareem Hunt that's in better condition because he doesn't have to run the ball as much. So his body's healing, he's getting in better shape, and come playoff time, which is coming up now, I think we're going to see Kareem Hunt be a massive staple for this offense, and I am so excited for it. What an incredible story, an incredible player, and a guy that I just love to see run in a Chiefs uniform. I'm super grateful for Kareem Hunt this year, man. I just am. I'm really grateful for him because without him, the Chiefs aren't 14-1. I'll tell you that right now. Some of those games early in the season where he had to carry the ball 26 times and kept the offense moving when the passing game wasn't working at all. I mean, you look at the early season. Kareem Hunt is a massive reason for a lot of these wins, and the Chiefs aren't 14-1 without him. So give Kareem Hunt his flowers, man, not just today, but for the entire season. Thrown into a situation that a lot of people would call impossible. Yet he's come through and played so beautifully and been such an important part of the offense that this team is not 14-1 without Kareem Hunt. Give that man his flowers. He's earned them. Period, point blank. Love Kareem Hunt. Also, when it comes to the playoffs, I just wrote this down, so I want to get to it. When they I think the smartest thing that Matt Nagy and Andy Reid did is they stuck with the hot hand, right? Pacheco wasn't really getting there. Look, he's coming back from injury, and it's a leg injury on a running back. It's going to take time. So their ability to recognize that and see that Kareem Hunt's the hot hand and just keep feeding Kareem Hunt, that was beautiful coaching by Andy Reid and by Matt Nagy. They have taken a lot of heat this year. And frankly, Nagy somewhat deserved. But they're understanding that Kareem Hunt's the hot hand, keep feeding him. That's brilliant coaching, and it's exactly what this Chiefs offense should be. So give Andy Reid and Matt Nagy a ton of credit for the way they've handled Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, especially in this Texans game. The injuries. We'll get to the injuries. Coming up, we'll get to DeAndre Hopkins here in just a second because I want to do more positivity, but we have to discuss the injuries in this game because there were so many. But we sucked. It really sucked. You hate seeing anybody get injured. But we'll get to Hopkins right after this. The injuries in the NFL are a huge problem. We got to keep talking about it because today it was on full display. Guys are dropping left and right. And is it bad conditioning? Is it not enough training camp? I mean, I've talked about it over and over again, but I don't really know what to do to fix it. Something has to happen because eventually these games are going to become unwatchable. And the lack of discipline is what took out Tank Dell. I hate to say it, but when Wayne crashed into his knee, it's like, yeah, they didn't have enough spacing because they didn't understand where they were on the field. That's a lack of discipline. And it sucks. It's not, like I'm not going to be like, Wayne, it's your fault. Look, Mahomes took out Rashee Rice this year. It was an accident. And Wayne took out Dell. It was an accident. But you see injuries like that, man. I mean, I'll say this. The Arrowhead crowd, I was very impressed with. In the sense that when they saw it on the screen, everyone, oh, and they all got quiet. And they understood, like, this is much bigger than this game. You know, Philly fans, remember Michael Irvin? Remember Michael Irvin, like, broke his neck in Philadelphia, and they were all, like, cheering? Yeah. So when we talk about the most classless fan bases in the NFL, I know a lot of people want to bring up the Chiefs, but it's not reality. I mean, the Chiefs being a classless fan base, that's not reality. That's just people hating greatness. because the Chiefs fan base reacted very well to that. I felt terrible for CJ Stroud. I know CJ Stroud is an emotional guy, and that was an emotional moment because that looked like a Joe Theismann leg injury. It looked like an Alex Smith leg injury where Tank Dell's career, I'm not a doctor, but you watch that, you think Tank Dell's coming back to the NFL ever? Very much in question. He's at the hospital right now. They got to make sure he can walk again. That right now, that's the number one priority. Same as it was with Joe Theismann and Alex Smith. When you have a leg go like that, your number one priority is, can he walk again? That's the most important thing. So before we even get to playing again for Tank Dell, it's just an awful thing. My heart goes out to him. I feel terrible for Tank Dell. I feel terrible for the Texans. And it's just an awful injury to see. You hate that. You hate that. And we're seeing injuries all over. I mean, it felt like every 3 plays there was an injury in this game. So the NFL has to take some kind of change in this because it's impossible to almost see a full season, right? I mean, I think fantasy football now just comes down to who doesn't get injured, right? I mean, anybody who picked first in their fantasy football league this year, you're screwed because you had Christian McCaffrey. So you're screwed. Everybody got 2 players before you got 1, essentially. Then I had a nice run in the middle of the season when he came back, and he got hurt again. So really, it comes down to injuries of this season, injuries in the NFL. It's the most important thing to get ready for. I think if you're a team like Kansas City, if you're any kind of contending team, your number one priority has to be depth, right? Get enough players that if everybody goes down, you can still field the Super Bowl team because that's what it's going to take now. It's a war of attrition. That's really what it is, and it sucks. Also, 3 games in 10 days when you have players dropping left and right is absolutely absurd. You can't tell me that the short layoff between games has nothing to do with the amount of injuries in the NFL. You just can't sell that to me. And this isn't a Chiefs thing. There are a lot of teams that have to play 3 games in 10 days, and none of them should. It's trash scheduling by the NFL. They should be embarrassed by it. And frankly, if Roger Goodell doesn't step in and change something next year, if I'm the players union, I might strike. I'm not even joking. You can't keep putting players out there in a situation where they're going to get injured because they're tired. Your legs only have so much in you. You're going to play 3 games in 10 days? There's a lot of teams that are being thrown into this situation, and it's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. If the Bills lose, I might bench everybody for Christmas. Seriously, if the Bills lose this weekend and the Chiefs are guaranteed a number 1 seed, bench everybody for Christmas. Send a message to those douchebags at the NFL headquarters that don't understand how important player safety is. They just pretend about it. Moving on. I get pissed about the injury thing, man. It shouldn't happen. It's trash that it does. But moving on to happier things. DeAndre Hopkins is becoming one of the most reliable and important targets in the NFL because Patrick Mahomes looks for him on every single 3rd down. He knows how to get separation. He can catch the ball well on the sideline, as we saw today. Twinkle toes like Fred Flintstone out there for DeAndre Hopkins. You love to see how DeAndre's developing this chemistry with Patrick Mahomes, where on 3rd down, Patrick really just looks at DeAndre Hopkins. He knows, hey, DeAndre's going to get separation. I put it in the vicinity, and he's going to Spider-Man that thing in like Andre Rison, baby. That's the type of player that DeAndre Hopkins has become for Kansas City. And I don't think we necessarily knew how he would fit into this offense when he got traded over from Tennessee. We just knew DeAndre Hopkins was going to be good enough that Patrick Mahomes could do something great with him, and we're seeing it. It's not huge numbers, but it's big plays in big moments and big first downs. That's what DeAndre Hopkins brings to the table. One of the best possession wide receivers in the NFL. And if they start getting a clean pocket, we're going to start seeing some deeper throws with DeAndre Hopkins. We might have to wait for the playoffs for that. But what we're seeing now is a very dynamic weapon in DeAndre Hopkins that's developing a beautiful chemistry with Patrick Mahomes, and he has so much talent. We haven't seen a wide receiver with that kind of talent in Kansas City since Tyreek Hill. And now this is a different talent, but it's still so impactful, especially for how the Chiefs play offense. They're so methodical. It's slow moving, long drives, 10 plays or more. They do it more than anyone in the NFL. And the way that DeAndre Hopkins fits into that mold is absolute perfection. And it's only going to get better going into January. I've said it before, I'll say it again. How terrified must 31 other fan bases be, or the other playoff contenders in the AFC be, that they have to go through Arrowhead, through this team to try to get to the Super Bowl? It's an almost insurmountable task at this point, and I can't wait to see him try. DeAndre Hopkins today, his numbers were 4 receptions for 37 yards, but he had the most impactful receptions, including that big third down catch on the sidelines where he twinkle-toesed his way over there in perfect fashion. You gotta enjoy watching what DeAndre Hopkins brings to the Chiefs. A phenomenal win. Really a phenomenal win for Kansas City. I can't say enough about how good this win was for the Chiefs against the Houston Texans, because it was a game where you're coming off a short week. The Texans are on the road. You're at home. Taylor Swift's birthday was yesterday, I think. Somebody told me that. I don't know for sure. But all those things are going on, and you have to get a win. Like, this was, in a lot of ways, a must-win, because going into that Steelers game, the Steelers game is going to be hard. So you have to have a little bit of cushion going into that game against Pittsburgh. So hopefully the Chiefs can win on Christmas. Of course they can. Hopefully they do. And then they can rest until the divisional round of the playoffs. That would be incredible. Or the Bills lose this week, and I don't know what you do. Maybe you rest them for Christmas. I don't know. It's up there. It's a conversation. We'll discuss it as time goes on, but I don't know. We won't have a midweek blitz, obviously, because there's a game in 4 days, right? There's no reason to have a midweek blitz, but we will have a show right after the 25th, and I'll be right after the game on the 25th, and I'll be very interested to see how do they play it if the Bills lose. I don't know. It's a hypothetical anyway, but yeah, we'll see. Couple more players to get to. We'll end it with who I think is emerging as a legitimate big-time star in the NFL. I'll tell you that here in just a moment. But first, Mike Pennel, the unsung hero in the backfield. What an absolute monster he's turning into for the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a guy who didn't have a job a couple of years ago, and the Chiefs brought him in and he helped them win another Super Bowl. He's been on multiple Super Bowl teams. He's an absolute, unquestioned dog at defensive tackle, and he got in the backfield today to stop runs in the backfield. He got a sack. Mike Pennel is emerging as a dominating factor on the defensive line, and since the return of Charles Omenihu, that defensive line and that pass rush has completely transformed. It was a weakness early in the season, and now they're getting to the quarterback all the time. This Chiefs defensive line has grown into a beast, anchored by Chris Jones and then George Karlaftis. But then you have Mike Pennel making big plays, and the return of Charles Omenihu marked a significant, seismic shift for this defensive line in Kansas City, and now they are attacking with the ears pinned back, coming for the quarterback and burying them. We used to see plays where we were like, how is no one getting close to the quarterback? What's going on? I don't remember the last time I said that. I don't remember the last time I watched a Chiefs defensive possession. I don't remember the last time I watched a Chiefs game and I was watching the opposing quarterback stand in the pocket and I'm sitting there going, what in the hell is this? Why is nobody getting to him? And early in the season, there was a lot of that. Now, there's none of that. Give a lot of credit to Charles Omenihu for returning and the rest of the defense, including defensive coordinator, our guy, Steve Spagnuolo, for making a big move, getting this defensive line in shape and getting to the quarterback. Also give a lot of credit to Chris Jones, which it was mentioned on the broadcast a few times today, like they were told to mention it almost, which it's true though. But what they said is true. Chris Jones, it gets so much attention. He's getting Aaron Donald level attention now from opposing offenses. And what that's doing is opening things up for everybody else, including that dog, Mike Pennel, who's growing into a monster on that defensive line. And he's another guy like a Kareem Hunt, who the Chiefs did pick up, not this year, but a previous year. And the Chiefs did pick up because of an injury, and then he earned his spot on the roster for good. That's a guy that you like to root for, and that's a guy that has the intensity, the anger, the dog in him. We've been looking for that dog on the defense, and I think it might be Mike Pennel, because that man is bad. I love watching Mike Pennell play football, dude. He plays like when we used to play. You know what I mean? Back in that like mid 2000s when everybody was just headhunting, killing each other. The old school. Mike Pennell's an old school player. He's a throwback player. He has that intensity and that meanness that you just don't see enough of in the NFL anymore. You don't see enough dogs in the NFL anymore. But Mike Pennell, 100% in the dog category, and it's showing up on the stat sheet and on the field for the Kansas City Chiefs. Final thing we'll touch on before we wrap things up here is an emerging legitimate star in Kansas City, Xavier Worthy. We brought him up a lot of the midweek blitz because we've been calling for Xavier Worthy to be a bigger part of this offense all season long. And now he is. He is a focal point of the Kansas City Chiefs offense and a big reason for the success in the second half of the season for Patrick Mahomes. He needed a wide receiver to step up after Rashee Rice went down. We were hoping for more from DeAndre Hopkins, but you need a speed guy. And the Chiefs didn't have a guy with the speed that can really break away other than a first-round rookie, Xavier Worthy, who kind of had to be thrown into the fire a little bit. They weren't expecting him to use him this much this year. But Hollywood Brown went down. Rashee Rice went down. Hey, Xavier, we don't have any more speed, buddy. We need you to get out there. So then Xavier Worthy gets out there. He grows beautifully into this situation that the Chiefs have given him, and now he's emerging as an absolute unequivocal star in the NFL, and every other hater for the Kansas City Chiefs has to eat it because the Buffalo Bills made a trade during the draft to let the Chiefs move up and take Xavier Worthy, who's now a stud and an absolute star in the NFL. How does that feel for the Buffalo Bills to give the Chiefs both Patrick Mahomes and Xavier Worthy? Of course, they think Josh Allen is Jesus Christ, so I'm sure they don't care too much. But how beautiful is it that Xavier Worthy is emerging as this massive player for the Kansas City Chiefs? An absolute stud. Thank you so much, Buffalo Bills organization, because he is helping to carry this Chiefs offense. He is a focal point of this Chiefs offense, and he is a massive reason for the success of Patrick Mahomes in the second half of the season. What a beautiful player Xavier Worthy has turned out to be, and how much fun was it watching him run all around the field against the Houston Texans and get into the end zone with a beautiful celebration. This is a Xavier Worthy house on Chiefs Chase, and we are going to pump him up every chance we get. Hell yeah, man. The Kansas City Chiefs 14-1 after beating the Houston Texans 27-19 on a holiday special for the NFL that turned out beautifully. Thank you so much for joining me here. My name is Mike Bassano, and this has been Chiefs Chase. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. And thank you for interacting with the posts, with the podcast, with everything that you do. I cherish the hell out of you. Huge win for the Kansas City Chiefs, and still the number one seed in the NFL, baby. Hey, Merry Christmas. I'll see you on Christmas the 25th as the Chiefs take on the Steelers. Have a phenomenal holiday.